The design. I can't believe the songs they come up with. We've got Faribault City Council members in studio today. I already have a question that I asked people to go on Facebook because this really speeds things up. If we have to wait to patch people through and then have them ask their question, that extends the time, and we don't have a lot of time. So if you guys can post those questions on Facebook, I would love it. And I have one already that we will address in the second segment of the show. I hope I don't offend the listener by doing that, because I want to get a little of the background of our council members. Rowan and Janna Viscomi are with us today. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate
thank you.
very much. So first of all, John, how long have you been on the council?
5 years and 4 months.
And you're up for re-election, so what's the decision?
I still haven't made that decision. I've got a lot of stuff going on with the business and some new opportunities.
For those who don't know, filing opens, if you're interested, 8 in the morning on May 22nd. It ends at 5 in the evening on June 5th. Janna, I know you're up for re-election too.
Yes.
And what's your decision?
At this point, I think I'm going to rerun,
Okay.
but that's a couple weeks out.
So
But
you're not definite?
No, I think so. I
Okay.
mean, but when things happen, and I don't. I mean, at this point, I intend to run. So I've been in it for 3.5 years. So I've gone through my first term. It's almost up, and it just feels like there's still more to do. Because that's why we all get in here, is because there's certain things we'd like to see happen, or a direction that we go in, and I still feel like there's some work that needs to be done, and we're kind of in the midst of the work right now with the comprehensive plan, and I really like to fulfill that obligation to see that completed, and we're going to be beginning that this week.
You enjoy this work, John?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an interesting ride. I have an open door policy, as everybody knows, and people take advantage of that. They come down to Geek Central and they ask whatever is on their mind. They may not necessarily like the answer, but at least I'm always factual with them on what we know. And staff tries to do a good job to keep us in the loop on everything, but not always.
Yeah. What's the biggest challenge, Janna, in this job?
Things don't move as quickly as they do in real life. And you have to herd a lot of chickens to get something done, so it's not just like I have a great idea, let's implement it. It's convincing 3 other people, and then finding the right time, because it's not always like the right time, and then you wait for that time to incorporate that idea. That's the biggest challenge, is like, when is the right time? So and then the patience to see it actually happen.
Yeah, it's frustrating because you're a business owner, and obviously if you have an idea, you implement it right now.
We're going with it, yeah, and so far they've been good ideas, so I would love to see it happen on City Council.
And sometimes you may have a good idea, but the legal people will advise you against it because there's rules and regulations that don't allow it.
That are different than regular business.
Right, or you come up with a good idea, then we have to wait for staff to word it correctly and then bring it back. And sometimes that can be a 6-month delay.
I think it is a little bit, because we both come from the business background, so it's a philosophy that we have. Trying to incorporate that philosophy with city government is kind of like what Trump's doing on a federal level. Trying to incorporate a business philosophy with politics is sometimes a challenge.
Well, and government's not designed, it's designed to be slower.
Yeah,
Right?
for transparency.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep. And accountability.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we are accountable to the voters of the city of Faribault. And whatever happens in November, at least get out and vote. Whether you like somebody or don't like somebody, that's the only way they know if they're doing the job correctly.
Sure. Did you grow up here, Janna?
Yes.
And you grew up here, John?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, we grew up about a block away. I mean, through a park. We didn't even realize it.
No kidding?
Yeah.
Yep.
We were a park away from each other.
Yeah, we're on the same school bus.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be doggone.
But he was a little bit younger.
What are the odds? Now, I won't ask you. Well, I will ask you this. I've got a minute before my market update. When you were on the school bus, did you ever think Janna would be a council member? And when you were on the school bus, did you ever think John would be a council member?
No, it didn't cross my mind.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, this is where we fail. We're not getting the teenagers involved in government. So I don't think you come to this conclusion until you're in your 30s.
Yeah, you may be right there. We got to take a market update, and then we'll jump into the question that I did have on Facebook. You can still go to our Facebook page and ask those questions. Yeah, you go to a Facebook page, ask your question. We'll certainly ask the question of the council members here. Our Facebook actually got my Facebook page up here too. I think that's the one I gave. If you'd like to ask a question, we do have one here. So I'm going to start right with it right now. How do you like that? Here's the question. Oh, by the way, Faribault City Council members John Rowan and Janna Viscomi are with me this morning on our AM Minnesota show. Both are up for re-election at the end of this year, and John says he hasn't decided yet. Janna said she probably will be running again. So the question, council members, is why are the crosswalks and street lines not repainted? They almost are non-existent, it says here.
Well, what you have to realize is that it was winter 3 weeks ago. So the first thing we have to do is get the street sweeper out there to get all the debris, gravel, things like that off the road and off the sidewalks, wherever it needs to be painted, and then staff will have to paint it. So I imagine that'll start happening here probably the first week of June.
Oh, okay. Because usually I think they try to spruce it up right before Memorial Day, because they have a Memorial Day parade downtown, right?
Yep, and they may do that, but everything has been pushed behind. You know, again, we had a big snowstorm 3 weeks ago. It's hard to believe. You know, I was just reading a report from the National Weather Service that the ground temperature just finally came up to what it should be.
And what's that?
I don't remember the exact number, but enough that grass and plants will grow.
Yeah, well, I need to mow my yard. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
Have you already mowed yours?
Not
okay.
yet.
The way you were
No,
nodding your
it's
head.
due. No, it's due.
But mine's definitely due. And most of my neighbors were already mowing last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I was not going to. So anyway, it's that simple, folks. You go to Facebook, you type in your question. I'll see your question, hopefully, and then I will ask the council members. Before I get started on some questions, are there some pieces of information that you want to get out to the public?
I usually ask to narrow down the field because we know so much that, you know, I always ask people to just narrow down the subject so that we can give information, because there's so much information that we take in on a weekly basis. It's hard to process sometimes.
Yeah.
So I love questions because that narrows down the field.
Yeah, and I would say the number one question that I've been getting asked in the last 6 months is why are specific roads in town so horribly maintained? And some of the roads in the city of Faribault actually belong to Rice County, and I know our staff has been actively engaged with their administration to get them to do whatever it is they need to do, particularly that 8th Avenue chunk over by Lampert's. That's pretty deteriorated. Willow Street is theirs, and 17th Avenue, I believe, is theirs. And there's nothing we as a city can do about it. So their roads, they get the federal and state dollars to fix them. But if the county doesn't get their people into place, then I think the city is going to have to take a more aggressive legal approach.
Can you be a little more specific?
If it were up to me, we would haul them into federal court and make them do what they're legally obligated to do. Maintain the roads that they own in the city of Faribault. And I imagine Northfield is having the same problem.
Do you have an opinion on this, Janna?
Oh, I think every one of us has a different passion, and so he leads the torch when it comes to this. Mine's residential rental properties. Mine's park and recreation for youth. Mine's the downtown area. Mine's for development in the community to increase the tax base. Mine's for improving the quality of life so we can be more competitive. So we each have like our different passions. So
right.
Whenever the topic comes up, we're either going to be like attacking it, like yes, you know, or we're going to be like no. I would concur with him that we need to pressure to make sure that the standards of our roads are maintained as well as Faribault sets them, but we don't have jurisdiction over county.
I know since I've been here, there have been a number of roads that have gone back and forth. You know,
Yep.
It's the counties, and it's the cities, and it's the county.
Yeah, and I think she brings up a good point. It's what is the standard of living, the quality of life we expect in our city, and that's really where the council drives the discussion. You know, we talk about rental properties. We've made considerable improvements, you know, over the last 3 to 4 years, and we've got some more work to do.
I don't see any new questions here online, so I'm going to go to the downtown parking study.
Mm-hmm.
You both have businesses downtown, so you can speak directly to this.
Yeah, and
right?
I'm on that committee.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It was an interesting meeting I had the chance to attend, where you guys talked about maybe having permits for people who live downtown. Where is all that right now?
Yeah, so we brought it back to committee to bring it to the public to get more input and data. So the whole reason this spurred is because folks that do rent down here, that if the property doesn't have its own off-street parking, they are forced then to park in the city lots. The city lots only allow you to park there for 18 hours. So therefore, if somebody goes away on the weekend, they're getting ticketed. Okay, so there's a couple sides to this. One, that the property owners should have some financial stake in these parking lots if that's their tenants parking, because the city has to plow and maintain, and that's all stuff that would be done, or costs that would be incurred by somebody that owns their own property. The city picks up this expense. So therefore, the conversation was, how do we get assistance when it comes to maintaining, but also to how can we have a way in which people can park there longer than 18 hours. And so that's how that all got driven about a year and a half ago.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be, what, a few weeks down the road before it's all implemented?
Well, I think it's going to mesh with the downtown comprehensive plan. Yeah. So the city is doing 3 plans. The city is doing the normal comprehensive plan, which is an overall view of the entire community and where it wants to be in 15 years. Then there's more specific plans. There's 2 of them. One is the downtown, and the other is our parks, so that we can update and be more specific in these 2 areas. So we're hoping that the work that the parking committee has done in the last year and a half will then blend in with the comprehensive plan. So as we get information, then we send it to the city council. The city council chews it up, and then it will potentially end up with the comprehensive committee.
Right, and I expect that to be sometime next year.
One of the recommendations I know of the committee was to increase fines.
We did that.
Yep, you did that at the last council meeting.
Yeah,
right?
so it went from 10 to 25. The other one is also to change the time on Central Avenue. Okay, and this was a hard one because I kind of pushed on this initially, obviously because I advocate for multiple people. But one of the big things that we've always believed in, at least from my personal experience, because we also have to separate, business from council. But as a business downtown that draws, 60,000 some people to the downtown, we want to encourage people then to go to other places. But if it changed to 90-minute parking, they would have to move, right? But it ended up that a lot of people convinced me that you're making 90-minute parking prime parking, and then off of that would be the 3-hour and then 18-hour into the lot. So we're pushing people out, but also too, most businesses need an hour and a half. I would say majority of them you can get people in and out in an hour and a half. For
in
faster
the middle
turnover.
of the block, if I remember right, they're going to have a couple of 15-minute spaces.
Yep. So they're always, because that was the other concern too, with like the event center coming into town and still being able to get a cupcake. Because that's always my big concern is nobody is going to walk 2 blocks to get a cupcake. They want to be able to just park, get it, and go, and that's what those 15-minute parking will do.
It's unfortunate that they're not willing to walk 2 blocks for a cupcake, because they can walk off the calories they get from the cupcake by walking the 2 blocks.
Right, unless you're 90. And we have a lot of elderly in our community that we have to really be considerate of. And then we also have winter. And so we have 2 facets that are really impeding on walkability in downtown. And we don't have a lot of awnings to protect people. Yeah. So that would be another one.
I put up a question after that meeting on Facebook asking people to weigh in on whether or not we need a parking ramp in Faribault, and there were actually some people that thought we did.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, well, you have to consider this too. Downtown Faribault is at half capacity right now. So if you want to see these properties invested in, a lot of businesses won't come here because there's not adequate parking for the needs that they have, right? And every time somebody moves in, such as an event center, it's going to impede on the guy that was there before, like the cupcake gal, right? So we always have to be, we have to anticipate the future, and how are we doing that? So we might be okay today, but where are we going to be in 5 years?
Yeah.
We're only going to be snuffing out potential investments.
Right, when you talk about anticipating the future, though, more and more people are buying stuff online. There aren't going to be bricks and mortar stores maybe.
I don't think so. I don't believe in that because I'm super successful in my brick and mortars. So people are still going to want that. They want that. I know
the interaction, yeah.
They just do.
And service-oriented stores.
Because people keep saying that, but yet my numbers don't reflect that. Because they want the experience. You want to talk to millennials, talk to them about experiences. They want to go to a charming, cute downtown. So do elderly people. So do, couples. I mean, this is something that's never going to go away. And Faribault happens to have, something we haven't destroyed yet. A lot of these metropolitan areas do not have a historic downtown. They don't.
That's true.
And I'm not willing to let this just go. Not after 100 years of it still being here. We would be fools to let it go. We have to do what we can to increase investment. so that we're not investing in it as city council members or city community members having to make those investments because other people failed to do so over the course of 20 years.
We do have
Well
a gorgeous downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely.
And the investors that, like the 310 Event Center, that was amazing. Those people came from Metro, and they were able to find a historic building, create a business that they could not have done in Minneapolis. They couldn't have afforded to do it. You can afford to do it here. So it's an entrepreneur's dream.
And he's already booked pretty solid.
Yes, yes, and that's a brick and mortar. You have to get married in something.
Yeah, that's true.
You need coffee to go with it.
Can't
you have
do that
to get it.
online.
Yeah, you have to have a place to stay. I mean, there's still reason to have these brick and mortars.
At least yet. You know, I don't see that happening. So let's see, again, our Faribault City Council members Janna Viscomi and John Rowan are with us. You know, recently there was a Planning Commission recommendation of a denial of a business that wanted to come out Western Avenue. You guys took a different stand on that. Can you,
Go ahead.
in a nutshell, tell us what's happening there?
Well, it's an unusual property, and the city council was asked to look at it, I believe, in 2006. And
The property is, correct me if I'm wrong, it's across the road from the Verizon building, right?
Right. Yep.
On the corner.
Yep.
Highway 60 is right by it, and that was the concern by the Planning Commission.
Yep. The business is a low traffic business, so, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way.
No,
they
what
understand
What
that.
kind of a business is it?
Cell phone sales and repair.
Another one?
They're going to move from their existing facility across the street.
Oh,
over.
okay. They want to move across.
Yeah, I think that
Well,
they
the
just want to
parking where
own
they're
their
at
own
is
building.
It's not very good.
Yeah. And this is a unique piece of property, and I think Elizabeth Kapp said it really well. Where you're going to take a property that isn't on the tax rolls, and it's now going to generate tax revenue. And so, as City Council, we have to look at the whole picture. As Planning Commission, they have a very stringent set of guidelines that they're supposed to look at, and they're not wrong in their observations. But just like with the HPC, the Heritage Preservation Committee, at the end of the day, the City Council can override their decision if we feel that it is in the public's best interest. It's a necessity. So.
No, I said it was a funky shaped property, so no matter what goes on it, it's going to be a challenge. And the truth is, we approved this in 2006, and it's now 2018, so it's been 12 years since they found another potential buyer. If we don't allow them to do it, how much longer is it going to be for another potential buyer that's willing to go into this funky shaped space?
The Planning Commission, correct me if I'm wrong on this, said they could be on that space if they had a smaller building.
Correct. And Kevin Voracek, or Mayor Voracek, his thought process was, if we alter the space that they need, they might not be able to cash flow it. And I concur with his observation.
Yeah, and it was just to gain a couple more parking stalls.
Oh, and the mayor just texted me and said that the public is invited to give input next Thursday, 6 p.m. at the Ice Arena for the comp plan. Is that right? Did I read that right?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Mayor. Appreciate your weighing in on that.
So he's watching over us.
That's good.
You think so?
I'm kidding. I give
So
him a
where
hard
were
time.
we? Oh, we were talking about the building on that corner.
Yeah.
And the Planning Commission said they wouldn't have to do any variances if they had the smaller building.
Right, but it would not be able to cash flow with the reduced footprint.
Okay.
Yep.
That's the reason why they wouldn't go that route.
Exactly. And like I said, they have a different set of guidelines than we do.
So what goes in the old building?
Unknown at this time. But remember, this is the strongest economy we've seen since 1999, so hopefully something will go in that property as well.
Pre-market, it'll fill in.
You're pretty confident that somebody will go in there?
Yeah, it's a nice
sure.
building.
Good location.
Okay. So that's a done deal?
No, there's still some work that needs to be done on that.
Yeah, so
it's got to come back before.
Yep, staff is drafting the resolution with the proper language, so they're meeting with attorneys and other people, and then they'll have some hearings on it, because the public does have a right to weigh in on it, and then it'll be brought back before us in committee, and then eventually it'll come to City Council for approval.
I ride my bike along that trail fairly often, and it sometimes can be interesting to get across there, that street.
Do you have some recommendations that you'd like to see done?
Not really.
Well, see, this is a good time that if something like that's on your mind, definitely let your City Council folks know, because then we can, put that to the top of the list.
Right. But that is something that, needs to be in the mix.
Right, because we need to address it
Yeah,
as we're doing this.
And we're having this problem on 7th Street. We're trying to figure out, in the whole 6 years that I've been on City Council, we've been trying to figure out what the best way to get bicycle traffic across 7th.
Yeah. Normally I just throw it in the back of my pickup, drive to the Dairy Queen and jump on the trail there, and then I stop at the Dairy Queen when I'm done with my bike ride as a reward.
There you go. Burn off those calories.
Yeah.
My kind of bike ride.
Isn't that awesome? Somebody pounding? Did you hear pounding?
I did.
Thought maybe they're pounding to ask a question or something. I'll check the Facebook page here and see if we get any new ones. It doesn't look like we've got anything yet. So, 2018 street reconstruction improvements were on the last council agenda, right?
Correct.
There are a lot of projects in town.
The usual amount.
Yeah, it's the same every year.
If people have a area where they'd like to have a stop sign or a stoplight or something, how do they go about petitioning for that?
I believe there's a form on the city website, or you can stop down at City Hall and our staff will get you the proper forms. That will go to the General Affairs Committee.
Yeah.
That's one of Janna's committees, and they will review it.
And then
the
they
merits.
can come and petition, you
Yeah.
know, and explain why they would like to see it done.
And
then we
it's
make
an
our
informal-
recommendation to the council.
Yeah, it's an informal meeting, so you're just there with 3 other council members and staff. So there's no pressure. You can just explain your position, and then they'll review the request. And if they believe it should move up the chain, they will certainly do so.
A major expenditure is coming down the pike here. Water treatment plant. I know you put out requests for proposal for
Yep.
construction of that plant. I mean, any idea of what they're estimating this is going to cost?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, I like to call it the water pre-treatment plant. Okay, because when people think of water treatment, they think of the end product, not necessarily what we drink. So it's really going to depend on the level of service we want to provide. We can do everything from the basic stuff, you know, getting the iron out and the silt, all the way up to softening the water at the city level. And there's a cost. Now, St. Peter has done this since they had their tornado. Richfield has done it, I believe, since 1969.
You're talking about softening the water.
Yep. What I anticipate is that the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources at some point is going to mandate that all cities do it, because the unknown truth about water softening at the end user level, you know, the homeowner, is that it releases a lot of salt into the fresh water system, i.e. the river. And the trends are that they're going to want to stop that behavior. So if we end up going with the full Monty, it's going to be very expensive. What do you think? Like $30 million, I think?
It's
or more. I don't remember
expensive.
exactly.
Crazy expensive. So that's when you just hope that you can get a bond, like from the state. Like
Yeah.
be part of the bonding.
And I know there's some talk about that at the state
Yeah.
level.
Yeah, there's things that we would prefer to see go through the state because they become more of a necessity versus a wish list. You know, like
Right.
a civic center, it's better for us to try for these basic necessity type items through the state
Yeah.
to get help.
Because I can see where state legislators wouldn't be so excited about giving money to a community to put in a new swimming pool or
Yeah,
something.
unless you're Rochester. Yeah, then they'll get it.
Yep. And so it's going to be a big issue, and it is going to impact everybody that gets water from the city of Faribault, because there's going to be a cost. And some of our equipment in our water pretreatment system is from WPA era, so that's the Great Depression.
Yeah.
Okay, and when that equipment goes, and it eventually will, they don't make it anymore, so we're buying all new anyway. So it's better to come up with a plan and do it right.
And it's not going to get any cheaper, right?
No.
The time is now.
Yeah, it does matter when we do
It
it.
needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
Just need to replace it.
Yep.
And start planning for it, because there's a lot of planning involved in it, and then how are you going to get the funding for it, and then we all have to approve it. Once again, it's that
Same location.
time.
Yep,
Yeah.
there's plenty of space to do it. Even with the most complex system, we can do it. It's just, what does the public want? What does the council want? What does staff recommend? So this is a discussion
and then how
that
do we pay for it?
will be going on. You know, whether I come back next year or not, this is going to be an important discussion.
There's fluoride in our water currently.
Yep, mandated by state law.
I was just
I'm
gonna say that.
opposed to it,
It
but
probably is mandated.
yeah, we can't remove it. We've had petitions over the years to do so.
Some cities have done that.
No, there are no
not
cities
in
that-
Minnesota, but I'm talking in the country.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because I asked my dentist about it, and he really believes that it did make a difference. But I think back to the Rice County Fair, working for the sheriff's office. I can't give somebody an aspirin, I can't give somebody a Tylenol because of medical rules, and yet we're putting fluoride in the water. So I'm just scratching my head, like, where's the thought process here?
Yeah, it's in your toothpaste.
Yeah, but you can make a conscious decision to buy fluoridated toothpaste or not.
Should we actually have people in town say we don't need the fluoride?
Yes. Yeah. In my first year, a group of people petitioned us. They showed up at city council.
And that probably adds to the cost.
Yep. Absolutely.
I've only got a couple minutes left in the show, folks. I'm going to check the Facebook page here and see if we got anything new. And I have a couple friend requests. But other than that, no other questions. We must be covering the topics that people want to cover.
Right, and remember, if you guys out there listening ever want to get a hold of us, you can call City Hall and they can give you our email.
I put our phone numbers are in the newspaper too.
Yep, I was going to say, yep, it's also on the website, and the newspaper publishes it bi-weekly, or not bi-weekly, bi-monthly, so every other month.
And I really encourage people to get involved in the comprehensive plan that's coming up. It's a public input, like Kevin had, Voracek had sent information about, it was May 17th, is that what he said? You want to let people know. I would recommend that you attend so that you can give public input, because without this information, I cannot champion for anyone. It's pretty much my voice. I need to be able to have the voices of many to be able to make change.
Next Thursday, 6 p.m. at the Ice Arena.
Yep, and it's the same thing for all of us on the council. We need the support of everyone, because we may represent, but when we're up on the council, it's one. We're one, right? But when we go to these committee meetings, to these, especially the input for the comp plan, when there's 100 people that say they want something, that message is going to carry to the very top. So it's really important we get that information.
Thanks, council members, for coming in.
Thank you.
Certainly appreciate it. That concludes today's edition of AM Minnesota. Tomorrow, Jerry visits with Jay Zilski about melanoma. You're in tune to KDHL AM Faribault.